It's all over. We've got a new heavyweight champion of the world.
No one could hold them back. Out in the heat they tried, going strong. They gave us hands on track. When the world by hand meant to heroes alive in our memories. Never die. Heroes alive in the world. You fought and busted our nation to gold.
7 world champions, 6 Olympic gold medalists, 9 empire titles, and a host of boxing heroes. The Champions Arena, man against man. The ultimate test of strength, cunning, and courage. Join us now as we trace the path of boxing in South Africa from its birth up to our modern era of the fighters.
In Cape Town, champion Joe Flash meets challenger Johannes Mfalele. Flash in white shorts is defending his
It wasn't until the middle of the 70s that black and white South Africans were able to fight each other in the South African ring legally. Over the years, however, there were many talented fighters who never had the same opportunities as their white counterparts. Unfortunately, hardly any footage exists of these brilliant black South African boxers. Elijah Makoni, in the white trunks, seen here in action against the highly competent Albie Tisson, was a classy lightweight who could have gone all the way to the top. He wasn't able, however, to adapt to foreign conditions. He had a disappointing campaign in England and never realized his potential. There were other outstanding black fighters like Willie Baby Batter Mbata, Leslie Mackenzie, Joe Masiko, Levi Mardi, Joe Africa, Anthony Marodi, Joe Ngidi, and Enoch Mhlapo. But the best and certainly the most successful was Jake Dooley.
We had a father lunch at St. Mary's in Orlando when we came to Orlando. And by trying to keep the boys off the streets, he started clubs, different clubs, you know, like playing drafts, boxing, football, what have you. Now, I grew up a little, you know, afraid of everybody and a shy little boy. Then I started reading comics about Charles Atlas, making people strong in 15 minutes. And I thought, maybe if I join the boxing club, I'll also become a strong boy. One day I'll be able to fight back against these bullies, you know. They used to bully me. Like, we had a boy, they used to call him the bully at St. Mary's School. Then when he comes to me, Sonny, is he bound for me? I say, yeah, Brother Temberg is bound for you. Just like that. And one day we had a music competition, a school music competition, and we had to go to the communal hall to sing. I was dressed up in my nice black trousers, a nice white shirt and everything. My mother just bought it for me. Then Temba came there, found me speaking to a little girl. Now, to prove his strength, just tripped me and I fell over. When I got up from there, I looked at myself once and I didn't know what I was doing. I just went over 1, 2, 3, and down he went, and I was on top of it. From that day onwards, I turned from being a shy, scared little boy. Then I became, you know, a sort of, I know who I am. I can fight back for myself. That was boxing, you see.
After turning professional, Dooley won 2 national titles in quick succession and set off to campaign in England. He had incredible punching power for a flyweight, and after fellow South African George Angelo helped him to correct his balance, Toweel seemed unbeatable.
Yeah, ke utlwa go kete tsotlhe di simolola tsamaya sentle a ke re bone gore e tsamayang the fighters ele ke eo.
For the British Empire flyweight title, in what was a sensational upset at the time.
The greatest was Cape Town. When I got off the boat, the streets were so jam-packed with people. They had to get policemen, traffic officers, and everybody else trying to keep the people away from the street. And the car I was traveling in was an open coupe sort of thing. I was standing up there waving to everybody, and I felt great.
Toweel continued his undefeated career with 14 consecutive wins in as many months. He was now in line for a world title fight.
I should have fought Dado Marina for the world flyweight title. I was #1 contender then. Unfortunately, my third fight in England, the fellow who fought me died after the fight. Then they all wanted to stay away from me. So Dado Marina, I was #1 contender for the world title, and there was a #10, Yoshio Shirai. Decided to fight Yoshio Shirai for a non-title fight. He lost to Yoshio Shirai on points. Yoshio challenged for the title, fought him again, and won the title. Then I got a fight to go to Manila to fight Leo Espinosa. When I'm in Manila, Japan is just a stone's throw away. When Shirai learned that I was in Manila, he took a holiday down to South America. In other words, running away from me. All right. When they asked him, he said, "I'll never fight that cannibal from Africa. Not for all the tea in China."
Toweel moved up a weight division to meet future world bantamweight champion Robert Cohen in Manchester on the 14th of December, 1953.
Pounds to Robert Cohen, the French bantamweight title holder. The fight was promoted by the new Northern Sportsmen's Charity Fund of Manchester, and when Cohen landed the old 1-2 in round 4, Toweel looked in trouble. But the unbeaten Zulu boy from South Africa was saved by the bell. Round 5, and Toweel, looking like a dancing marionette, took 2 more cuts, yet still his courage kept him going. The final round, both boys desperately tired, throwing punches from every angle in a grandstand finish. But neither man flinched as Toweel tried to save the day against a tougher-looking opponent. Cohen was the winner.
Although Toweel continued to box for several years, he seemed to have lost his edge after the Cohen fight, and he never did get his world title shot. Jake Toweel, a credit to South African boxing. The British Empire flyweight crown also rested on another South African's head, Dennis Adams. The cocky Adams, seen here wearing white shorts, had no pretensions to science and did most of his training in nightclubs. But he packed a murderous punch quite out of proportion to his size.
Maar als die gevecht voortgaan, is het maar weer Adams wat die moedige claim van een wouddriftige aanval. Hij gebruikt die touwen om uit de lastige knoop te komen en slaat weer zijn tegenstander plat.
Adams won the Empire title with the assistance of Willie Toweel in 1957 when he knocked out Frankie Jones in 3 rounds. He kept the title until, as he used to say, he lost it to Dr. H.F. Verwoerd when South Africa left the Commonwealth and became a republic in 1961. Adams's unbelievable punching power, demonstrated here in a 20-second demolition of Robert Trott, made him a dangerous opponent for anyone. Among his first-round victims was future world champion Arnold Taylor. Unfortunately, Adams never took anything seriously, and his happy-go-lucky lifestyle meant that he was seldom properly conditioned. His ring career petered out, and he died at an early age. Evert Potgieter, a king-size Natal farmer, was an overnight sensation when he was unveiled to an incredulous boxing world in 1953. He stood 7 feet 2 in his socks and carried more than 340 pounds on his enormous frame.
When it comes to boxing, how good is Potgieter?
At least one experienced sports writer says he is better than Tarniera was at a similar stage. Well, Tarniera became the world champ.
After 19 bouts against carefully selected opponents, in a career which spanned just under 4 years, the overactive pituitary gland, which was the cause of his exceptional height, forced his retirement, and he returned to farming in the Vryheid district. Evert Potgieter was never a champion, but he always behaved like one. Another interesting heavyweight of the 50s was Ezekiel Dlamini, who was known as King Kong. He wasn't a particularly good fighter, but his fierce pride and violent life inspired a popular musical of the time entitled King Kong. Willie Toweel, younger brother of world champion Vic, was a superb stylist with extraordinary quickness and a fair amount of power in each fist. Willie turned professional at the age of 19, after following in his brother's footsteps and gaining his Springbok colours. Within a year, he won the national bantam and featherweight titles. All in all, he was to win 4 national titles. After beating the highly rated Pappy Goat, Willie took on and beat the experienced spoiler Henri Valigna over 10 rounds. Valigna was rated as the 5th best bantamweight in the world. Willie then defended his featherweight title, stopping the tough Louis Klopper in 7 rounds. Willie was now a recognized challenger for the world bantamweight title, and on the 3rd of September 1955, he climbed through the ropes to meet the French holder Robert Cohen in Johannesburg.
And get a tremendous ovation. Round 2 is sensational as Cohen unleashes a flurry of powerful lefts and rights, dropping Toweel. The challenger doesn't stay down long, and as he rises, Cohen is ready and eager to knock him out. Toweel, still fresh, but perhaps dazed, goes into a clinch. Then fighting back, he trades punches with the Frenchman. A series of swings is followed by another clinch, and this time the referee breaks them and speaks an admonishing word to Toweel for holding. The champion is obviously keen to get on with the job. He tears across the ring and has Toweel on the ropes, and the challenger goes down again. He's badly shaken, though he rises at the count of 3. Yes, he's definitely groggy, but somehow, through sheer fighting instinct, Willie Toweel gets out of trouble and fights the round to the end. Round 3, and another sensation. For Willie not only comes back, but comes back fighting. A remarkable recovery. Using a compact style, Robert Cohen wants to get in close, but the challenger uses height and reach to keep the champion at long range. At the critical stage, the problem of reach is the telling factor. And not only does Toweel recover, but the round ends with him on the attack. Round 6, and by now the scale seems to be tipping in the challenger's favor. Toweel, fighting strongly, is making Cohen miss, and he drives him back. This was a superb round for the South Africans, and before the round ended, the champion appeared to be in serious trouble. Yes, it looked as if Willie would regain the title once held by his brother Vicky. A couple of rounds later, Toweel piles Cohen onto the ropes and pastes him as the crowd roars approval. The champion is dazed, but weaves his way out of trouble. They've had 14 grueling rounds and can put whatever they have left into the remaining few seconds. But as they break, it's obvious that they're both tired but game boxers. Mustering a sudden burst of energy, Toweel goes for a last-minute knockout. But like a world champion, Cohen weathers the storm. And both he and the challenger were still there when the final gong meant that the result...
At the final bell, most ringsiders thought that Willie had done enough to have won clearly on points, but the decision was given as a draw. In the meantime, another outstanding South African boxer, Jannie Smiler van Rensburg, who'd won the amateur bantamweight title at the 1950 Commonwealth Games, was making his mark. Smiler, as he was called because of his angelic looks and cheerful grin when in action, took on Joe Lucy in 1954 for the British Empire lightweight title.
And he soon piled in to build up a points advantage in the early rounds. Yes, for 5 rounds, Smiler was the more aggressive against a clever opponent. Joe Lucy made up leeway from round 6 onwards, particularly at infighting. He had drawn level when Van Rensburg staged a rousing attack in the last 2 rounds. It was a fine, clean fight. Plenty of skill for the connoisseur, plenty of action for everybody, with only minor warnings for holding the nearest approach to an infringement. In round 14, Van Rensburg drops himself when he misses with a swing. He's up immediately, wipes his gloves, and they box on. And within seconds, a right to the jaw has Joe Lucy down. He doesn't take a count either. And so these two fine, evenly matched boxers carried the fight to the final gong. It was a close decision, but Smiler Van Rensburg gained it to become British Empire lightweight champion.
Willie Toweel moved up to the lightweight division and challenged Van Rensburg for his national and empire titles.
Maar die rode poortse verkeerskonstabel heeft de kinderbak wat van graniet gemaakt is. En is maar weer daar om te gee en te ontvangen. Dit is met hierdie stadium van die gevecht dat Toweel zijn rechterhand en zijn enkelompe moeilijkheid geeft. En tot grote teleurstelling van zijn navolgers en familie moet hij die gevecht na die 9e ronde gewonnen geven. Het technische uitklop hou en die kampioen Smiler van Rensburg glimlach weer.
A rematch was arranged a few months later.
The champion is strong and is an adept at infighting. Soon, however, Toweel began to sort him out and rushed him to the corner with a two-handed attack. But Van Rensburg fought himself out. Smiler did well in round 3, but Toweel's counterpunching frequently stopped him. From round 4 onwards, the challenger started building a lead, though many of his swings went wide of his elusive opponent. The fight was so fast that many wondered if it could go the full 15 rounds. Now Van Rensburg is driven back to the ropes. He likes the ropes, and Toweel refuses to follow up. By the time the last round came up, Willie Toweel held a solid lead on point. Smiler Van Rensburg needed a knockout to win, but Toweel was too quick and too crafty for him. A terrific fight drew to a close, with the challenger doing more of the attacking. And if anyone wondered whether Willie Toweel would be as good a lightweight as he was a bantam, this was the answer. Smiler Van Rensburg is a worthy Empire lightweight champion, but Willie Toweel beat him clearly to become the new lightweight champion of South Africa and of the British Empire.
They met on 3 other occasions, but after that first win, the best Smiler could do was to draw in one of the bouts.
Toweel is still British Empire lightweight champion.
Van Rensburg went on to win the Empire welterweight title from George Barnes 3 years later, and thereby became the only South African ever to win 2 Empire titles in different weight divisions. Throughout Willie's impressive career, he was to be haunted by the tragedy of Hubert Esseko.
On Monday, March the 19th, one of South Africa's most promising young boxers, Hubert Esseko, will step into the ring against Willie Toweel in a match for the South African Featherweight Championship. Esseko is a two-handed, hard-hitting 21-year-old fighter from Port Pietersrust. As an amateur, he held the Northern Transvaal Featherweight title. Since turning professional, he's had 13 fights and has won them all, 11 by knockouts.
Esseko was knocked out in the 11th round. And he died 52 hours later.
The tragedy of Hubert Esseko affected Willie very badly throughout his career. I'd say throughout his life. I don't think Willie ever forgot about that. He was a tremendous puncher before he met Esseko. He had 23 fights, he knocked out 19 chaps. When he fought Esseko, and after the Esseko fight, he had 37 fights. He only stopped 7. And he stopped 7, not his own doing. I don't know, he never tried to knock anybody out after that. It was a pity because he was such a great fighter, Willie. I think if he didn't have that tragedy, he could have probably won 2 world title fights. 2 world titles, the lightweight and the welterweight.
Willie received psychiatric treatment, but the horror always remained close to the surface.
He didn't know where he was, what he was going to do. I gave him examples on Ezra Charles that killed a guy in the ring and other fighters. And, you know, then he felt like he could continue again because the Esseko family also told him that they wanted him to go on. If their son was alive, he'd want Willie to go on fighting. And I think that's what sort of motivated him again. But it definitely had the effect. I should know I was in his corner for the majority of these fights. And you could see every time he shook a guy, he let him off the hook. He let him off. He boxed his way. He was such a good boxer that he could, you know, stagger a guy and then still just outbox him and win the fight without sort of knocking him out.
After an impressive victory over Richie Howard, the Toweels set off on a campaign in England, where they joined forces with the influential agent Bobby Diamond and the promoter Harry Levine. Willie started off with a magnificent performance, defending his Empire title successfully against the British champion Dave Charnley. The British fight fans adopted Willie as one of their own, and he responded with one virtuoso performance after another. His victory over Jimmy Carter, the former world champion, on October the 8th, 1957 was particularly impressive. And he was freely tipped to win the world title within the next 12 months.
When Willie went to challenge Joe Brown, we got the letter to say that they would give us a world title fight. But the title has to stay in the family. In other words, if Willie won, the family would control him, whoever they were. And at that time, I think Viscusi was the manager of Joe Brown. I didn't know him then like I knew him when I was with Foster. And that's a lot of years later, it was about nearly 20 years later. And I gave Willie the option. I said to him, Willie, this is your chance. You waited for this chance. You can take it. Don't worry about me as your manager. As long as you got Alan as your trainer, they'll look after you, and if you win the title, they'll be looking after you. And Willie said, I started with you, you've got me so far. If you can't manage me when I'm world champion, then I'd rather not be a world champion.
Willie defeated the world-rated Mexican Al Nevares over 10 rounds. And on returning to England, scored 2 more victories before losing in an upset to Guy Gracia of France. Only his second defeat in a career which already spanned 5 years. After a 2-month layoff, Willie returned to the ring and demolished Tony Garcia in Cape Town before winning a return bout against Guy Gracia.
Came in for a terrible pounding. Strapped by jet fighters, jackhammers, kicking mules, Springbok rugby forwards and lots besides, from a quiet-spoken, perfect little sportsman by the name of Willie Toweel. Belted and battered, Garcia slumped to the floor, then courageously rose for further punishment. Willie showed us something he has previously lacked, the merciless approach so essential to a professional world-class fighter. Gone was the fine calculation of points, and the French boxer was the first victim of the new Willie Toweel, taking the hard road back to World Championship recognition. There was jubilation in the Toweel family, and Willie's comeback shows that he approaches the task ahead with a completely new outlook, which suggests that at last he's a world champion in the making.
Weakened by drastic weight reduction, Willie lost his Empire title to Dave Charnley on a 10th round knockout. His reputation wasn't harmed, however, and he set off to make his debut in the United
38
States.
degrees in New York and clear.
He entered the ring against the world-rated Lenny Matthews at Madison Square Garden on November the 20th, 1959. A hopeless 3-1 underdog. But Willie Toweel put up one of the finest performances of skill and courage ever in the history of world boxing.
You notice increasing frequency of
At the end of the 7th round, Willie was ahead on points.
Before the fight, we worked out in a hotel room, and I warned him that Matthews is a 3-punch combination puncher, and you got a habit of pulling back. And I said, you might make him miss with the left and the right, but when that left hook comes, if you pull back, he's going to connect, and he's a dynamic puncher. That's exactly what happened. As he started off the combination, Willie ducked the 2 punches, but pulled back the 3rd, and Matthews caught him with the left hook, and he went down.
5, 6, 7, 8. A minute and a half to go in round 8. 1 minute to go in round 8. Five seconds to go. The fight will be automatically over if there's another knockdown. Seconds. 5 seconds. There's the bell.
Willie was in a real bad way. And I said to him, look, are you listening? He said, yes. I said, please, for our country and for our family, you have to stand up. And I said, this guy is going to rush out at you. Make no mistake. He's coming out to knock you out. But get in there. And before he can come to you, get to him and pound him. Even if you throw feeble punches, put him off until you get yourself right. And I'm telling you, as he got up, you know, when they said seconds out, he got up, he was still looking and he's saying, yes, okay, you know, but you could see he was a bit shaky. And he went out. And he met Matthews right in his corner. And he started doing the punching. And that turned the whole fight around.
Wants to make sure of it. Listen to this crowd. They are really stirred up. It's the liveliest fight crowd we've had here in a long time. 10 seconds to go. The crowd is cheering as they watch that second hand. They're on their feet, a lot of them behind us here and in front. Boy, that Toweel made a great start. Got off the canvas, big smile on his face. Smile on both fighters' faces. And Matthews went over and shook hands with the brother. We'll have the decision in just a moment.
The American public and press went wild with admiration, claiming there hasn't been a boxer as good as this South African smoothie since Willie Pep was dazzling the fans and his opponents. Willie Toweel moved like Sugar Ray Robinson in his prime. Toweel, the master craftsman, and South Africa's man of courage.
And boy, they love him here. He is really... He's just, with that big smile, he has just worked his way into the hearts of these people. Here's Johnny
Referee Harry Evans. 5, 4, 1 even. Favor of Toweel.
Willie had 5 more fights, losing his last to Emil Griffith, a future holder of 2 world titles. And then he called it a day at the age of 26. Willie Toweel, the stuff that champions are made of. In the next episode of The Fighters, a Pretoria panel beater holds his own with the best in the world.
En dan my beste, Ludwil.